in a loud and clear message to the Indian Cricket Board, the BCCI and its million-dollar baby, the IPL, the Supreme Court appointed committee led by the former Chief Justice Lodha, has delivered its verdict on the betting scandal that had rocked the cricketing fraternity. In a big blow to the ICC President N. Srinivasan, the Chennai Super Kings have been suspended for 2 years. The team's owner, that's India Cements, also suspended for 2 years. The other team, Rajasthan Royals, that won the first IPL edition, also been handed over a 2-year suspension. The scam came to light after 3 Rajasthan players were arrested in May 2013. The 2 men in the eye of the storm, Gurunath Meiyappan and Kundra, have also been banned for life from all cricketing activities. They've also been suspended from any association with the BCCI. That means for 5 years. What does all of this mean for not just the IPL, but the brand value of the IPL and cricket at large? For that, I'm going to throw it across to Shireen Pan. Shireen.
Well, thanks very much, Nanta. Joining us now, Shashi Sinha, the India CEO of IPG Mediabrands. Also with us, Emminent Lawyer Mahesh Jethmalani and our very own Anant Rangaswami. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us. Mahesh Jethmalani, straight to you now, because is this the final that we've actually heard as far as this matter is concerned? The select panel was set up by the Supreme Court bench, which was arguing this case. This is the recommendation as far as this panel is concerned. We're already now getting reports suggesting that India Cements, for instance, the owner of Chennai Super Kings, is looking to appeal and challenge this order. What is the recourse available to both Rajasthan Royals and Chennai Super Kings at this point in time?
Well, I think the Lodha committee itself observes that its findings are subject to judicial scrutiny. So if there is going to be judicial scrutiny in the form of judicial review, it can only be by the bench which appointed the Lodha committee. So I suppose you can go back and on a limited, I wouldn't say this in the form of an appeal, but on a patently erroneous question of appreciation of evidence or a perverse finding of fact, I suppose both CSK and Rajasthan can go back to the Supreme Court, the same bench that appointed the committee, and have their say as to why those findings are wrong.
But on the basis of what we've heard from Justice Lodha today, taking us through the various details, taking us through how there was inaction on the part of the franchise owners, they refused to sort of do anything about the misconduct that was brought to light. In the light of all of that, do you really believe that the Supreme Court is going to entertain any such limited challenge, if I could call it that?
Well, I can't second guess the Supreme Court. I mean, I'm not a clairvoyant, but certainly they have a right to make this challenge, and it's up to the Supreme Court. If you're asking me whether it's likely, unlikely, probable, not probable, unless one is in complete possession of all the facts that gave rise to these findings, one really shouldn't venture into, what the Supreme Court may or may not do. I mean, the Lodha committee has obviously examined it very, extensively and intensively, and they've come to these findings, but it's open to them to challenge it, and the chance of success will depend on the ingenuity of their advocates, I suppose.
All right, fair point you make. Let me go across to Shashi. Now, Shashi, what does this really mean as far as brand IPL is concerned? Some are saying that this is a turning point as far as Indian cricket is concerned. Others are saying that perhaps finally this could be a wake-up call for the BCCI to start to reform itself. But we've heard this stuff in the past. This is not a new story. These are not new revelations in that sense. Do you really see this as being a crucial turning point as far as Indian cricket is concerned? And what does this now mean as far as brand IPL is concerned?
So, Shireen, as far as we are concerned, it's for advertisers because, as you know, IPL is funded by advertising to a great extent. Almost 75–80% revenues coming from there. And I personally feel, while in the short run it is alarming and there's a concern to the best teams in the tournament are not going to be there. Of course, the players may be entitled to play for the teams. But in the long run, I think this is an opportunity for everyone to get that together. Because all said and done, from an advertiser point of view, IPL is the biggest property for 8 years now. Every year people say something happens, but when the ratings come, they are the highest, and there's no other property in India which gives you sustained.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point, Shashi. This is not the first time that we're talking about these issues. This is not the first time that these revelations have been made public, and yet they get the ratings, yet they get the advertiser money. So, there's really no pressure on the system to reform itself. And as Kirti Azad, former cricketer, has been saying, hey, it's united in corruption, whether it's those who are governing and the franchise owners as well.
So, Shri, there are two separate points. The ratings come because a lot of viewers now see it as entertainment, not only cricket, but entertainment. So it'll be unfortunate if the people who run the IPL and BCCI decide that because the ratings are coming, we will not clean it up or we will sort it out. I think two separate points. For the benefit of Indian cricket, serious cricket, you know, when India plays tests or others, that the foundation is strong. Having said that, I think, like, go back to my point, advertisers and the viewers see it as entertainment. And this is the largest piece of entertainment available. So therefore, you probably don't see an effect on the ratings.
Anant, will advertisers really care? Do advertisers really care beyond a point?
You know, Shireen, popular sport across the world, across decades, has been sort of Teflon coated. You know, you can talk about football, you can talk about basketball in the US, baseball. You know, all of them have been tainted at one point or the other. And sometimes it looks like they'll never recover. Big sports has always recovered. You know, the sort of cosmos conspires to make it work all over again. And I think they'll be forced to repair it. The advertisers don't have an alternative. If they had an alternative, they would go there, or at least threaten to go there, like people are doing with, you know, Sepp Blatter. But at this moment, I don't think there's an alternative. They can't go anywhere else.
They can't go anywhere else. Mahesh Jethmalani, back to you, because I heard you earlier today saying that perhaps this, you know, recommendation of the Lodha panel is on the harsher side, because at the end of the day, these were individuals who were involved, and why should the franchise or the entire team have to suffer on account of the acts of certain individuals? But how do you then start the process of cleaning up? I mean, this is the argument, for instance, that the BCCI has used all these years, and this is where we are today.
Well, you know, let's talk about the fairness aspect. This is not both these cases, Kundra and Meiyappan, are not cases of match fixing. They are cases of betting, right? Now, of course, nobody is saying that there isn't a lack of moral probity on the part of the two offenders.
It's not just betting, it's a clear conflict of interest as well, Mr. Jethmalani. This is a clear conflict of interest as well. I mean, these were principles of these teams.
Yes, of course. That's why there is a violation of moral probity. And there's no doubt that because they, as owners, they should have set exemplary standards. There's no doubt about that. But they were not cases of match fixing, so that the public was not cheated of a fair result in that sense. That would be far more serious an offence, if you ask me. So that didn't happen in this case. Now the point is, everything stems from betting, right? The real root cause is the tremendous amount that cricket attracts in terms of betting lucre. Now, what you really have to do, therefore, is tackle the betting problem. And the only way you can really do that in this country is to legalize betting. You know, you will eradicate the problem of black money. You will augment the government's revenue by augmenting, you know, betting tax, etc. And you know, you will take away crime syndicates who control the bookies. Ultimately, the biggest crime syndicates operate out of Dubai, and a lot of them are not very pleasant characters, and some of them are actually underworld and anti-national people. So really, the idea is to tackle the whole betting issue, because that's where this entire problem has cropped up.
Okay, I knew that was an argument that was coming there, that legalized betting, and of course that's not the first time that we've actually heard that. But Shashi, back to you, because there are all kinds of reports coming in now on what happens really as far as these two teams are concerned. The Lodha committee has very clearly said that the players are not attached to any franchise, they're free to move around. Of course, the likes of MS Dhoni, you know, are up for grabs at this point in time. There's also reports suggesting that perhaps there will be pressure on the current owners to give up both these teams, and both these teams could be up for auction. What kind of appetite and interest in this context then do you see as far as valuations are concerned?
Shane, you know what's going to happen? There's a lot of time just now. IPL is next April, May, and it is normally about 2 to 3 months before the tournament starts, so Jan, Feb. So I think 8 months by Indian cricket standards is a lot. You know, normally from a global point, you would have said, well, there's no time, but I think India things happen in 30 days, 60 days. So I am very optimistic. I think things will get sorted out. It is a wake-up call. But the game will not suffer. I think the players, as you correctly said, will be distributed everywhere. It's for BCCI to decide whether 2 more player teams come in or they wait for the court to take its final call. But I'm sure IPL will remain. It's a big property and it's there for us to stay.
Anand, do you see this impacting? For instance, there have been reports suggesting that JSW is in talks with the Bangalore Royal Challengers and that team is up for grabs. Do you believe that valuations, team valuations, could in fact be impacted on account of all the murky stuff that we're now hearing?
Now, I do think team valuations will be affected. I think that's because there's a sort of unpredictability which has entered the IPL this year, which is far greater than ever. Because we don't know how many teams are going to play, we don't know who's going to own, we don't know, therefore, how many matches, we don't know how long the tournament will play, because that is dependent on the matches. So if I were Pepsi, for example, if the tournament gets truncated from, say, 60 days to 45, it impacts Pepsi's sales directly. So every team owner gets only so many days to sort of stretch his franchise, to milk his franchise. I think uncertainty is not welcome. I do agree with Shashi that there's a lot of time. So uncertainty ends if there's closure quickly. We don't know who all will go to court, individuals and team owners. If they go to court, how long that process will be. You know, it's not as if they're all going to just roll over and die and agree to whatever the Lodha
absolutely
committee has said.
I don't see anybody rolling over and dying. In fact, if you look at the BCCI statement, very carefully crafted, very carefully worded, saying that it will be a collective decision and we'll have to study and go over this report. But whatever we do, we will do it in utmost transparency and for the benefit of the game. Of course, as I said, you know, the BCCI clearly being found wanting in this situation once again, and whether this is now time for the council that governs cricket in India to reform itself is the larger question. But really, what happens to the IPL is a question that continues to be mired in uncertainty. We'll have to leave it there, gentlemen. Mahesh Jethmalani, Shashi and Anant, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18 with your quick take on what we can expect.
Thank you.
Thank you.